His Excellency President Benigno Aquino III.
Kayo ang lakas. Kayo ang gumagawa ng pagbabago.
President Benigno Aquino III's previous State of the Nation address is quite unconventional. Last Monday, President Aquino delivered his SONA in Filipino with live translations. But during his fifth SONA, the nation witnessed a different President Aquino. Far from the expected tirade against the so-called enemies of Tuwid na Daan, his speech focused on his administration's achievements in the areas of education, transportation, agrarian reform, and good governance, to name a few.
Makikitang 42% ang pumasok sa 4 na taon ng ating panunungkulan.
But the most startling scene was toward the latter part of his speech, when his voice breaks and almost shedding a tear upon mentioning his parents' legacy.
Masasabi ko bang okay na rin? At sasabihin ko po sa inyo, mata sa mata. Sa lahat po ng inabot natin, ako po ay masabing kontento na ako.
His allies are quick to defend the president, saying that Aquino is not losing courage, but his speech is a manifestation of strength amid challenges against reforms he is executing. 3 days before his SONA, Pollster Pulse Asia released results of a new survey showing President Aquino getting a poor mark in controlling inflation and alleviating poverty. While the Congress stood, clapped, and wept with him, the protesters outside Batasan Pambansa were soaked with water from police's water cannon when some of their members attempted to penetrate the barricade. To them, this is the real state of the nation. Welcome to Opposing Views, a hard, straightforward discussion of today's most pressing issues. It's surprising that even President Aquino's staunchest critics, particularly from UNA, praised his recent State of the Nation address. They said that it was comprehensive and sincere, but they also concede that while a lot was mentioned, it lacked some vital national issues. So we'll weigh in tonight President Aquino's fifth State of the Nation address, pass or fail. Good evening, I'm Rod Nepomuceno, and this is Opposing Views. All right, joining us tonight in our discussion is the chairman of the Black and White Movement, Ms. Lea Navarro. Good evening, Lea.
Hi, good evening, Rod. Good to be here.
Yeah, give us your quick thoughts, a summary of your position regarding this question. Pass or fail?
Oh, absolutely a pass. I felt it was his strongest speech yet, with a lot of meat to it, and also a lot of, how would you say, more, not emotional, but
At least
a
it
lot more
touches-
feeling.
a lot more feeling, yeah.
And I think it touched a lot of hearts.
Yeah, and I think that's quite important. Thank you very much, Lea. And again, on the opposing side is Gabriela Party List Representative Luz Viminda Ilagan. Good evening, Ma'am Luz.
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am, your quick thoughts. In 30 seconds, a summary of your opinion regarding the SONA.
Well, if you're asking whether it's pass or fail, then I would have to say resounding failure.
Okay.
It was not the real state of the nation. Some of the data were misleading and they were incorrect. And of course, based on experience, we can already predict that he would be saying almost the same thing about his accomplishments. But the real SONA, the real state of the nation would be outside of Congress. And there you have the people saying that economically, their lives have not changed for the better at all. And so I would say...
You'd say fail.
It's a failure.
All right. So let's start our debate. Again, the whole point of Opposing Views is really to bring different views together and so that our viewing public will get a better understanding of the issues. Now, so let's start off with, I guess, your initial reactions, Lea. We'll start off with you, Lea, on what struck you most with the SONA and your initial thoughts overall.
Well, what hit me was how many times he said the word trust throughout the speech. For me, it was, it started off with him saying, you trusted me enough to give me your vote to do certain things. Towards the middle, he said, we started to clean house, which is what you wanted us to do. Now we have done some of these things. You have trusted us to do these. We are on the way to doing more. And then in the end was thank you for that trust. Let's keep trusting each other to do the right thing. And I also like the fact that when he was talking about his accomplishments for us, no, the report on us, that there were a lot of positive things to hear. You know, better tax collection, saving a lot of money from DPWH projects, making sure that we pay less in for our
debts.
For our debts now, 2.6% na lang. And then we have money to spend on the poor, on social services, on education.
So that's the one that struck you most.
Yes,
mainly.
yeah.
And the fact that, again, using the word trust, I guess that was the basis of his campaign to begin with, the straight path, tuwid na bataan.
Because, you see, he was a reluctant candidate, we know that. And then when he finally decided to take on this great job, you know, it's a difficult job. It's not easy, and he brought on a lot of good people to help him, and I can see that after 4 years, they've done a lot compared to, 9 years of the previous administrations and the few other years administrations before that.
All right, thank you, Leah. Luz, your thoughts naman. What struck you the most, and why do you think, leading up to that highlight, so to speak, why do you think that it will lead to a resounding failing mark, in your words?
Well, I have to remind you that we walked out during the SONA. But we were able to listen to the speech afterwards. It was recorded in different networks. Now, Leah said, trust. Remember also that this is now the 5th SONA. He has only one more SONA to go. At the beginning of his term, he spoke about trust, trusting him that his administration would be very different from the previous administration, that he would be following a platform of anti-corruption, that the lives of people would definitely improve. And it is the betrayal of this trust, in fact, that we have used as a basis for case that we have endorsed, the impeachment case, because people trusted him to be different, but it appears that we have more corruption this time compared to the past administration. We trusted him to improve the lives of the poor, but now the unemployment rate is much higher, and many people now complain that they are poorer than before. Many families can no longer afford to send their children to school. Children have stopped schooling, and their families cannot cope with the rising cost of basic commodities, the increase in power and the water rates, and also the fact that because of the difficulties they face now, the housing problem, the lack of basic services, health, housing, education, many of our women are now forced to go out of the country. We have data showing that in 2013, 1.8 million Filipinos left the country to look for work abroad.
Filipinas?
Filipinos.
Male
and majority are
female.
Filipinas, of course, going to the Middle East. And that would be an average of 5,038 people leaving daily, looking for work abroad. What kind of work did they find in the Middle East? And these are women who were abused, who suffered from contract substitution, who had to come back because they had problems with their employers. And we must also face the social cost of migration, families that are already breaking up. And
in other words, there are more people leaving now than let's say, in the previous administration.
There are no jobs. The unemployment rate has gone up, and if ever people are employed, then the wages are not sufficient to support them.
All right. I'm sorry, Leah. We need to take a short break, but I'll allow you to interject.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you can react online via Facebook at facebook.com/SolarOpposingViews or tweet your comments at opposing_views. Use the hashtag OVSONA2014. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. We have with us the chairman of the Black and White Movement, Ms. Lea Navarro, and Gabriela, party list representative Luz Biminda Ilagan. And our debate question for tonight, President Aquino's fifth State of the Nation address, pass or fail. Now, just before the break, Ms. Luz, you were making a point that it was a failure because of all the points you pointed out. No? Like there are a lot of people who are leaving. And of course, he hasn't fulfilled his promises, his campaign promises. So we'll now give the floor to Ms. Lea. Lea, your interjection.
First thing, Rod, I'm not the chairman. I'm a co-convener on
Oh, there you go. I'm sorry,
of the Black and White
co-convener.
Movement.
Our apologies.
Okay.
All right.
Not
Co-convener.
chairman.
Yes. No. Luz was saying that there's lots of people are leaving, that there's more poor now. But I'd like to point out, since you are not there to hear it, no, or to watch the SONA, the president pointed out that there were programs set in place, no, that helped a lot of people get into a better stage in life. For example, TESDA. TESDA was not an Aquino program. It didn't start with him. But what they did, once they cleaned up the corruption in there, they made sure that the alternative learning system of the DepEd or TESDA, these education programs are there for people to improve their lives. You see, education brings you out of poverty. Speaking of poverty, I think the expanded CCT is a success. From over 700,000 families during the GMA administration, there are now 4 million plus families who are receiving aid. I cannot see how a mother who can give baon to her kids in the morning because of this extra help is suffering so much. I think this is a big help. She also gets to bring her children to the barangay health center every month to get checked up because you don't get your CCT, right, unless you fulfill that. Plus, your kids have to go to school at least 85% of the time. So what we're hitting there is we're trying to make sure that people get educated because we do know that education is a way out of poverty. We cannot...
So you're saying it takes a while for you to feel the effects of it?
Well, this is why the president also said he only has 6 years. And at the end of the SONA, he said, you know, even if I'm not here anymore, I trust that you will continue these things, these programs, these wanting to make sure that our people are better. Come on, he saved what? 26 billion pesos from DPWH projects. That corruption is, you know, near nil there. And because of that, we have extra money to do all these other projects, right? He talked about the Laguna Lake development area where they're going to put like a dike area or so that there won't be any flooding. You know, I'd like to see it from a citizen's point of view, no, where nothing comes quickly if you want it yesterday. But if you pitch in to help today, tomorrow, we will get better.
All right.
May I say something about that?
Sure, no problem. I'll allow you to interject, and then after that, we'll shift gears and move to another question. All right.
Okay. Actually, the speech was taped, so I had a chance to listen to the speech. Now, regarding TESDA, no problem with training, but are there jobs available so that those who have been trained can get the jobs?
Well, according to him, out of the 223,000 plus beneficiaries, there are 146,000 graduates who have no work.
Yeah,
And
they
Depends
have
on the
work
kind of work, no? Because it's not just work, but the type of work, the quality of work, and also the income that can support the family with regard to conditional cash transfer.
Yeah.
What are the conditions? The family must be, the father must be unemployed. There must be children
Yes,
who have to be supported.
because we're targeting
and
the
also
poorest of the
that
poor,
the
Luz.
amount that they get is not even sufficient for the whole month. Now, we are going to give money to the poorest of the poor. What about the poor? And yet, our studies now show that there are a lot of anomalies going on with regard to conditional cash transfer. First, there are people who do not deserve to get the money who are receiving it. Second, it has not been fully evaluated. And children who are sick even force themselves to go to school because the requirement is they have to report and they cannot get the cash if they don't
but it's
go
very
to school.
easy to check on that.
Yes.
Luz, you know, what I love about this government too is that you can just go online, go on their website, and you can check things out.
But you can also check the actual
and
conditions
you know
on
that
the
there
ground.
are parent groups within the CCT beneficiary families that police their own ranks. And you cannot, you cannot disbelieve. I have faith that these people are being helped. And I cannot keep thinking that these things are impossible to happen. And if we just check, like I checked your congressional record for your PDAF, no? You gave a lot of money to the DSWD for help.
yes.
You had Kalahi SIDS projects, you had
No,
scholars.
we had for
you know?
calamities.
Yes,
not
and
for
for
the
calamities, yes. So, you cannot say also in the end that the government doesn't help anyone and that no one is
benefiting.
getting ahead. I mean,
All right.
because you
But
help
it
them
would
to
be
do
much
that,
better if they get
right?
jobs instead
Yes.
of the cash.
Oh, of course.
And also, when the women go to the health centers, there are no medicines available. And we encourage the attitude of mendicancy and the feeling of entitlement. The money, by the way, is not just picked out from out there. This is borrowed money. And so that CCT has been a failure in other countries. So why are we implementing a
I beg to
project that did
disagree.
not succeed
It's
in
a
other
great
countries?
success in Mexico and Brazil, and people can check that out.
All right,
online.
let's agree to disagree on that
Okay.
point. Let's shift gears on
Sure.
another point. And this is a sticky point because obviously the word of the day prior to the SONA was the DAP. No? So I'd like to ask first, Luz, no? Your thoughts, Luz, on why he didn't defend DAP directly, and he did mention though projects that benefited from it, and he even called on the Congress for a supplemental budget to define some terms in the budget. So your thoughts on that? The fact that he didn't touch on it so much, and
he did not touch on it on the SONA because he had been touching on it before the SONA, and he should not defend it anymore. The Supreme Court unanimously already gave the decision. It was unconstitutional, it was illegal, and for us, it was definitely immoral. And so he should not talk about it anymore because, you are questioning a branch of government that is supposed to be co-equal with you. So he was right. He should not talk about the DAP anymore. However, he has to be responsible. Be
Okay,
accountable.
I have to clarify. The Supreme Court decision on DAP did not say the DAP in and of itself was unconstitutional. It said that certain practices under DAP were unconstitutional. And that, for me, Luz, is a world of difference, okay? When I hear people talk about things this way, as if these things were evil, no? I then become really confused because one of the endorsers of these impeachments against the president, Representative Colmenares, got 25 million in DAP and claimed that he didn't know that it existed. You get 70 million a year, normally before in PDAF. When you get an extra 25, you've got to notice that it's there. And they won't give it to you unless and you know this, you must nominate projects for it,
No, that's
right?
for the PDAF. But the
Yeah.
DAP, many people did not know that they were being
asked.
given the DAP. That's why
they
Representative
asked.
Colmenares wrote a letter, and even our own representatives
Yes.
wrote letters to say, we are not going to implement the projects that you have stated under DAP, because we did not know that this was DAP.
oh, okay, go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead, Leah.
I'll keep my piece on that because
all right.
like to research a little bit on things, and I have found out that under the disbursement acceleration program, there were certain, how do you say, releases, no?
Oh, yes.
Done.
There were
yes.
releases, especially after
Yeah.
the impeachment of
Yes.
Corona.
But you see, the point of the DAP was not to line anyone's pocket or to be stolen. It went to a lot of excellent projects, which you said the president did refer to, all throughout this SONA. It helped by new equipment for our armed forces. It helped for the expanded CCT. It helped people who suffered in Zamboanga and Yolanda.
And these are all verifiable.
Yeah, these are all verifiable.
That,
You can
all right.
go and check it
All right.
out.
Well, but the Yolanda victims are still complaining because up to now, they haven't had the chance to move on.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's my next question. Now, he mentioned Central Visayas' roadmap to recovery. Is this seen in Tacloban and other provinces devastated by Typhoon Yolanda, do you think?
I have been to Tacloban. I went there 3 months after the Yolanda typhoon. And people were still attempting to move on. And it was only the other day that the DSWD decided to give the financial assistance that the people in Leyte had been asking for during the first week of the typhoon. And the president said that 2 days after, there was already some relief, and then 1 week after, they already had
It's
some
true.
action.
I watched
That
it.
was not
I
true
saw
at
it.
all. Now it
I'm
is
sorry,
8
Luz.
months after Yolanda.
You know, we should be so lucky, Luz, because, you know, in Haiti, after their earthquake, it took them 2 years to get off the ground, and there are still people living in tents there. After typhoon, the storm,
Katrina.
8 years it took New Orleans to get off its feet.
Well, I think we should not compare Haiti.
No, I think we should, because you know how many people were affected by Yolanda? 1.47 million people, and they were not just in Tacloban.
Oh,
they
yes,
were in
definitely.
Samar, they were in Cebu, they
Yeah,
were in
in
so
Iloilo.
many, 44 provinces, if I remember
And
correctly.
it's not only Yolanda,
Yeah.
even Pablo victims are still
Yes.
waiting for assistance.
And how
up to now.
about Zamboanga?
And so, Zamboanga, yes.
You know, bloodshed, speaking of it, bloodshed causes a lot of problems, you know, lack of peace in many areas.
But where did the money go?
let's
There was
keep
a lot
to-
of money
Well,
pouring
whenever-
into
Well, you know what? I
Whenever
would
you do
think-
have a whenever you do
You know,
have
you
a
can check the
record setting,
Faith
you know.
website, pardon me, but you can check the Faith website where anything that goes to the government as a donation for Yolanda and other disasters can be checked. Now, we don't know if anyone gave, let's say, Gabriela a donation. You have to add that, you would have to tell us what you used it for. For
yes.
example, yeah, di ba?
We went
So if
at
you go on the
once.
Faith Hub, that's what we call it, no? You can check it out. This is all verifiable. These are donations that have come from all
Yeah.
over the world. and
Lingap
we have to
Gabriela
be
was the first to
responsible.
go, actually.
Well, you know, I'm glad everybody did, you know, and we have to do our part. But what I'm thinking about all the time is we can't keep saying nothing is happening, because things are happening.
No, things are happening, but
Yeah.
very, very slowly. And
All
so
right.
the survivors,
All right, on
that's
that note, we need to-
arguable.
on that note, and we need to take a short break once again. I wish we didn't have to, but we have to. More post-SONA analysis when we come back. You are watching Opposing Views. We'll be right back.
Okay lang po kasi madami naman po siyang mga nagawang mga mabutis dito sa bansa kasi ang mali kasi po natin, tinitingnan natin yung mga mali po niya. Yung mga negative po sa kanya.
Failed po. Kasi ngayon nga po, marami pa rin pong mahihirap din sa Pilipinas. Patuloy pa rin po yung corruption.
Parang mas lalong umirap. Hindi kagaya nung mga nakaraan. Lagi na lang maraming tumataas. Bayarin sa kuryente, ganun, gasolina.
Hindi naman daw nagkatotoo yung mga nagawa niya, like yung Zamboanga, yung sa yung mga relocation para sa mga naapektuhan nung war, nung pagguluhan doon. So I think fail ng feel siya.
Wala pa rin pagbabago. Marami pa rin utang ang Pilipinas. Ramdam ang hirap ng Pilipinas pa rin.
Para sa akin po, Pasko yung SONA ni Pinoy kasi ano lang naman po, nasa sa atin po yun kung paano natin iintindihin kung ano yung mga nagawa niya. Sa tingin ko po, marami na po siyang nagawa at marami pa pong gagawin. May 2 taon pa po siya para tapusin po yung kanyang administrasyon.
Pasado naman eh. Kasi may mga tao naman natutulungan, meron naman ding hindi.
Welcome back. You're still watching Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. Still with us, the co-convener of the Black and White Movement, Ms. Lea Navarro, and Gabriela Party List Representative, Ms. Luz Biminda Ilagan. Our question for tonight, President Aquino's 5th State of the Nation address, pass or fail, because we're the bosses, we're supposed to give him the grade. All right, so, all right, before we pause for the break, no, we were touching on the salient points of his State of the Nation address speech. Now let's talk about the items that he did not mention. There are several: the territorial dispute with China, the Zamboanga crisis, FOI bill, the pork barrel scam, power shortage, the ASEAN integration. Do you think that these are lesser important things for the administration? Do you think he really omitted them because, well, you know, it's more important to address the things, the numbers, no, the people we've been able to help, etc.
Well, he has his reasons. Probably if he talked about territorial disputes, then he would be forced to discuss also the EDCA, which would be controversial. We were listening and hoping that he would touch on the Freedom on Information bill, because that is very crucial in the campaign against corruption. Also, the anti-political dynasty bill, which was not mentioned at all. And for somebody like me who comes from Mindanao, I would have wanted more specific mention of peace in Mindanao, inclusive peace, because we are aware that in Mindanao there are 3 kinds of people: the majority settlers, the Muslims, and the indigenous peoples. But then peace talks are not being pursued seriously, only with one group. Peace should be also inclusive. Let's include the other stakeholders. We want to talk peace with the MILF. What about the MNLF? Which was the reason that we had the Zamboanga siege, because there was a misunderstanding. And now, why not pursue the peace talks also with the NDF, so that those in Mindanao and other parts of the country would be assured that if we pursue peace, it would be genuine and lasting peace.
Leah, your thoughts on that?
Let's go to peace right away. I think before you can discuss peace, you have to put down your arms. And speaking of the CPP and NDF, they are still, to this day, waging war. The MNLF, the same thing, right? They have not beaten their arms into plowshares. So I think it's a two-way street. No? You have to both be willing. And I know that the OPAP has been very active in trying to get all of these peace tables together. But you have to have positive feelers also from the other side. The other point was about the FOI. I think the president had spoken on it, in fact, only a week or 2 before the SONA, where he spoke about hoping that the FOI would be passed and that he would ask the Congress to do that. And they also have, by the way, a program called Open Data, wherein there is transparency in the government now. I mean, like I said,
is this program Open Data? Is it publicly known?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Let it be known by the public.
Yes, you see. I work in a very small agency called the MTRCB, okay? We have a little website where you can call up, like, I want to watch X and X movie, what's the rating? In another agency, for example, like maybe the DBM, no? If I wanted to know what Representative Ilagan spent her PDAF on in 2012, 2011, whatever year, okay? I can call it up and it's all there. Okay, I don't remember any government before this one doing that. If I wanted to, in BIR, if I have a question about taxation, I can find it out online too. Plus, in the Department of Finance, if I knew somebody was living beyond their means, like had too much money for the job that they had, I can go to peranangbayan.com and make a request. Can you please check the lifestyle of this person? Because I think he has 1-2 cars too many.
So those things, those
I'm
small
being
things.
very
Yeah.
about this. This is, to deal in statistics and stuff like that, it's a little too technical for me. But as a citizen, if I want to look for information, I just have to go online. There are 34...
So your point is that
34,
this government is very...
there are 34
administrative,
million
it's transparent.
Filipinos who have access to the internet. They can look all of these things up, and they can go to gov.ph, they can go to PCDSPO, they can look up all of these things. No?
Do you think
We
that
have
Luz, that
answers there.
the transparency is there, do you think?
But I agree with you, Luz, that yes, we need freedom of information, no?
But not everybody
do not
is
say that we're
techie to be able to access
Yeah, but
that.
we're not. This government is not clamping down on anyone. When the 4 impeachments were leveled against the president, what did gov.ph do? They put up a graphic that explained the whole impeachment process. When Secretary Abad went to the Senate to defend the DAP, he had behind him almost all the cabinet secretaries. Let us not forget that during the Arroyo administration, there was EO 464 that stopped all cabinet secretaries from going to any inquiry or testifying at any inquiry. That, for me, is a 180-degree difference. No, I mean, hello, that's how open we are, right?
But
So,
not everybody can
you know,
use that particular method because majority of our people are not really able to access that.
But do you think, though, that he's...
And the website is not accurate. We have tried it. The information do not match.
Do you think, though, that there's a lack of transparency on his part just because, let's say, maybe the website's not working, assuming it's not working for some, no? Do you think, though, that he lacks transparency? I mean, do you think that the government is trying to hide something or even with regards to...
Yes, definitely. That's why we have all these problems regarding the DAP because there was no transparency at all.
Because
we were just, taken by surprise. Oh, so we have so much money, and that's why there's so much anger because people say, so much money, billions, and where did it go?
But
we were
Luz,
not aware about
Luz,
this.
The DAP accusation did not come from you. Did it not come from Senator Jinggoy Estrada, who said that he had been bribed by it? And then a few minutes later, when he was interpellated by Senator Enrile, who asked him, "Are you saying that this was a bribe?" And the answer was, "No, Your Honor, it was not." But see, there are some very savvy interests that jump on things like this to make sure that people can be more confused, that there is more mayhem, and can twist facts.
Right.
For me kasi, I like to research, no? So I go on, I look at all the newspapers, I look at websites, just to make sure. Now, I may have that capability, others may not, but you know what? 35 million people have Facebook. So, it's not that hard.
All right, let's
But going back to the DAP,
Yes.
that's a new term. 2 years ago, we did not hear about the DAP. That's a new animal, actually introduced when the controversy erupted.
It's not new. You can
The
go.
concept has been
concept
there.
is really old. It is just an acceleration of disbursement so that slow-moving projects
Can be funded right away.
or disasters, or can I give a really quick example?
Yeah, but the data
For
also
example,
showed that it was not
but
stimulating the
simplify
economy
this
at
even
all.
more. Let's simplify this even more. For example, I have put, let's say, 5,000 pesos aside to pay for my Meralco next month. But when the electricity bill comes, I only pay 2,500. Okay? So I have 2,500 extra money. I earmarked that, right, for that. Now, let's say my sister gets sick. Okay? I'm not gonna wait till the end of the month to bring
the end
her
of the
to
year.
the, or in this case, I will not wait days before I use that money to buy her medicine or to take her to the doctor. I would have to do it now, right?
So that's the whole concept of
that for me is the simplest way, because people like to make it even more complicated. You know, I know that it is technically complicated.
But if this was in the hands of a good president, it's good. But do you think the system will work if he didn't have a good president?
But it was used before by other presidents, and we can't think of them as really good presidents, can we? Not
right.
all of
That's
them,
right.
right?
So if we end up with another president
this is
later
not
on.
this is not a new animal.
Okay.
So,
you're
well,
saying that
this
that
is
system
why
works.
this is why we have to be very sure about who we vote for
Okay.
in a couple
And
of
I
years.
agree.
Yeah.
All right.
If it was used before and it was bad, it was wrong, it was erroneous, why continue with the practice?
All right. We need to take a short break. And I'd like to touch on maybe aspects of the SONA, which is not, I guess, not based on numbers, but more on the emotional side of it. No? So let's talk about that.
Sure.
Don't go away. When we come back, the results of our online poll on the issue and the final words of our guests. Please stay tuned. You're watching Important News. Welcome back. This is Opposing Views. I'm Ron Nepomuceno, and our guests, co-convener of the Black and White Movement, Ms. Lea Navarro, and Gabriela Party List Representative, Ms. Luz Biminda Ilagan. Our debate question for tonight, President Aquino's fifth State of the Nation address, pass or fail? Now, just before the break, we were talking about a lot of facts, a lot of numbers, the test, the graduates, and so on. But now let's talk about what a lot of people were talking, especially in social media, the fact that his voice cracked towards the end, and it sounded like he was crying. I don't know if it was just he wanted to cough or at least his voice broke. What did that mean to you? Do you think that was he was really overcome by emotion, or do you think that was part of the marketing gimmick?
Well, today, by the way, is the 5th death anniversary of his mother, President Cory Aquino.
Yeah.
And I remember very well how stoically the president held himself during that really difficult period. And then to see him 4 years later, rather emotional, was to me, I felt that I was able to see a little bit into his heart. And I was very impressed by the fact that he could show us how he was feeling. I am guessing, I do not know, but I felt that to him, the legacy of both his parents is very important. He must defend that with honor. And when people start to question his honor, and I will go as far as to say when some quarters like the Supreme Court said what you did probably wrong and you had bad faith, I would think if I were in his shoes, I would be fairly emotional about that too. Because if anyone accused you or your lack of honor and integrity, I think you would fight to prove that otherwise. And it also shows that he's a human being. I ask people to sometimes think, put yourself in his shoes. What decisions would you make? Can you imagine that the hopes and dreams of 100 million people are on your back, and you have to choose what is best for them? And some people have said, oh, because he's a congressman, he should have known, he's a senator. I think the view from where he sits now is worlds different from ours, from those in the legislature, and from those in the courts.
You felt the sincerity?
Oh, yes. And I do believe that the Filipino is worth fighting for. And
living for?
Yeah, and I'm signing up for that.
All right. Ms. Luz, your thoughts on his speech, especially in the emotional part. Now, do you think that the yellow magic, that he's trying to, a lot of people are saying that he's trying to still get that yellow magic, the magic of his parents, and he was trying to capture some of that in the emotional aspect of his speech, emotional part. Do you think that he was trying too hard, or do you think that there was some sincerity there?
Well, we can only guess. But it was a brilliant act, a twist to the speech, because
He's not normally like that.
The past SONAs, he has been very combative. And so this particular speech, which had a change at all, he was no longer combative, although he still criticized his critics and saying that if you're not with me, then you're against me and you're against the nation. And we know that President Aquino is a very personal person. And so it was a very good twist there, no? A very good way of getting the sympathy of the audience, because Filipinos are sentimental. And so if we talk about our parents, especially parents who have already passed away, then we are moved, we are touched. And that is what happened in the SONA. All the rest of the speech, the earlier part, obliterated. Focus on the emotion, especially when the cameras very quickly focused also on the sisters who were just as moved. So I would say it was a very effective way of getting the emotional sympathies of the Filipino people, and it worked. But we should still focus on the SONA,
what has been delivered and what has not
should
been
have been, what was delivered, what should have been delivered, what was not delivered, because there were many things that we looked forward to, but they were not there at all.
All right. Yes, Leah.
Just really quickly.
Quickly, yeah.
You know, I kind of, I'm not comfortable with or how do you say, the implication that this was a ploy, no? Those words were not written into the script. I know the president just a little bit. I mean, we're not close, but I've seen him in several different situations. And he's not the kind of person who would try any theatrics in order to get attention. And I feel that the theatrics of walking out, no? You joined government, you ran for public office, but for me that was a theatrical ploy to show that you had absolutely no respect for the institution in which you work, for us, supposedly, since you are a national, party list is a national interest. So, for me, I feel that he was well within his how do you say, right to tell us how he felt. Yeah,
right?
Because that's also what the SONA is all about.
All right, now let's talk about, I guess, legacy, no? The continuity. One of the things we haven't had, maybe the past 12 years, is kind of a normal presidency. We all know what happened during President Erap's time. It was cut short, and President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo's term naman was extended, which was kind of strange, right? So this is the first, I guess, president since President Ramos where we're going to have, again, the usual six years of presidency. Now, the continuity of these reforms is very important according to President Aquino. With the roadmap that Pinoy has drawn, do we see progress beyond 2016? And this is probably my final question because we're running out of time.
I have to have faith. I have to have faith, Rod, that these good things that are happening to us will become institutionalized. That, remember in the last part he said he trusts that even if he will no longer be around, that there will be people who have the sincere belief that these things will happen and they can keep this legacy growing. His parents' legacy, he's trying to live it, he's enriching it now as we speak. And when he's no longer president, he hopes that we will then be smart enough to bring in a new president who will not only continue this legacy, but improve on it. You can't do things in 6 years, and it's not like you wake up tomorrow and everything's hunky-dory. This needs decades. It takes a long time. Lots of the problems we have been there for eons. So I'm really hoping that we will have an electorate that will be informed, educated, and enlightened. This is what he's trying to tell them. Make the right choices.
Make the right choice. All right. Now, Ms. Luz, you think the reforms he's been doing, or at least he suggests that he's been doing, will continue on? And do you want it to continue on? The reforms
Well, the reforms still have to be there. We are looking for the roadmap. Maybe the roadmap is on paper, but in terms of implementation, that we have to see. So Leah is right that we should choose the right people. We should be very careful with regard how we vote for the officials who will manage our nation. And so governance should be taught to our people also. We have to learn from our past mistakes. And if we have a system that is, if I may say, in the dialect, bulok talaga ang sistema, then we need some dramatic, radical change. And this change will have to come from the people, and we have to examine also how the systems are working. And maybe it's high time that we take a good look at how we have been running our government. And as party-list representatives, we have to speak out for the marginalized, because it's our duty. And so if ever we do these things, it is because that is what our constituents are telling us what to do, and the voices must be heard also in and out of Congress, because that is how the democracy works.
All right. I know I could go on for another hour, to be honest, but unfortunately...
So could we.
And I think the viewers also want us to go for another hour. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. But final words. I'd like to ask your final words and your message to the viewers regarding this topic.
Well, I hope that we have taken what the President said to us in the SONA to heart. There was good news. There is also the hope that better news will come in the last year of his term. And he shouldn't be alone. Hindi siya nag-iisa. And we should all put our nose to the grindstone and say we are going to work to make all of these good things happen.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank
Pleasure.
you so much.
Pleasure to be here.
It's an honor to have you, and of course, Ms. Luz, also honor to have you. Your final words, ma'am.
Well, words are beautiful to listen to, and we always have hope. While there's life, there's hope. But when we talk about economic growth or political improvement, then these have to be translated to how our people are experiencing the positive changes in their lives. Data, they're good. Statistics, they're good. Policies are good. But they have to be manifested in the changes that our people want. They want to have a better life. They want to have the services that they deserve. And so it is the responsibility of government to provide that to our people.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks to our guests, co-convener of the Black and White Movement, Ms. Leah Navarro, thank you so much, and Gabriela, party list representative, Ms. Luz Viminda Ilagan, thank you so much. Now let's feel the pulse of our viewers through our online poll. Our question, President Aquino's 5th State of the Nation address, pass or fail? Those who said pass, 55%. Those who said fail, 45%. And that's our opposing views for tonight. Tune in again next week for another bold and engaging discussion on today's most relevant issues. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. Good night and God bless.